Let's talk about the line 5 from an aspect that gets you, makes you really happy and really excited, and some of the real key values and virtues of line 5. Sandra, do you want to get started?
So I like the universalizing part. So line 5 profiles, one of the things we do is we take things that we find are valuable or helpful or that other people would benefit from, and we want everybody to get to benefit from them. So we like spreading things around. And, you know, from a human design perspective, for example, when people who are line 5 profiles say, that's really terrific, a book or a movie or human design, or you tried this food, and they just like to have everybody benefit from it. And looking at what I do as somebody who does human design or healing work, it's like I'm always helping other people to benefit from all of the huge amount of knowledge and experience that I have. So just helping other people to benefit.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes, I my husband, I believe, is a 5/1, only because we're still trying to solidify his birth time. But his universal solutions and like his way of just knowing what works is amazing to me. It really is. And I'm line 3. I'm like, well, let's test it all out to see what works. And he's like, no, I know what works. So it really does, from an MG perspective, for me, it really provides like a lot of really, like, it's a shortcut to go to a 5 and say, hey, you know, what's the answer, right? You know, how would this work? So that's awesome. I do really like the universal. This is a real tongue twister. The universalization of the line 5. Yeah. Christy, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, I had to unmute myself. Yeah. So what I love about being a 5, I do like the universalizing, the breaking things down into bite-sized pieces. I feel like that translation process is something that I do a lot. I also like being the fixer, even though it's my unconscious 5. I do find myself getting into situations where it's like, stay in your lane. This is not where you're supposed to be. But I do feel that natural solution pop up. And I'm like, okay, so I can fix this. And often people ask for that. So it's like, well, actually, yeah, like being in the grocery store and someone coming up to me and going, hey, do you know where da-da-da is? And I'm like, yeah, all 3. And I don't work there, but people look for solutions from me. So I do really enjoy that. And the teaching aspect of the 5. It's really satisfying to be able to connect all the dots and help people to get it, because there are a lot of gaps in the translation of things, I feel like. So especially with human design, it's that evolutionary process, and I just love it.
Love it. Awesome. Sammy, what do you love about your line 5?
Yeah, sorry, I was doing the unmuting thing too. Okay, yeah. I think as far, because people see my line 5 first, and I think being a projector, my line 5, I'm definitely in the projection field a lot, but I've gone from, yeah, learning kind of what it means for me and myself, and it's allowed me, I think line 5s can love themselves so unconditionally, and I think it just gives me a strength that I feel like I got from that line 5. And then when I'm asked or invited into like the right situations, it makes me feel so much more confident. And I think that I think the line 5, like, I just think you can learn a lot about yourself as well from it. And I think that like kind of navigating, like you guys had mentioned, just kind of figuring out for yourself and what that means, and then kind of teaching it in the right way. And when that gets brought up about like how you feel about it, I feel like the more we can say about our own experiences with it, the more we can help people understand it, rather than, you know, just reading it out of a book, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of that next step. And it's probably my 3, right? My 1 wants the books. My 3 wants the real life experience. You know, does this in the book work in real life, right? Can we put it into practice? Or what does it look like when you now translate into practice? So yes, big fan of that. And I'm really happy to be here to be learning more about the line 5 from beyond just the books. And so one of the things is, we've talked about some of the really, awesome aspects of the line 5. Now, the one thing that we were talking about offline is the projection field and everything that comes with that. So I'd love for us to dig deeper to understand and even demystify that about the line 5. And that's why I'm really thrilled to have you today, is to help people who are new to human design, who might have a line 5, understand it better. And also for people, in general, even if they don't have a line 5 in their profile, to understand that aspect better right from line 5, so that they can get an appreciation and an understanding of that aspect. So Sandra, I'd love to start with you on this.
This is one of my favorite topics to talk about in human design. So for those of you who don't know about human design, don't understand about the projection field, I like to illustrate it. And it makes sense of a lot of things. So the projection field is where other people project onto you who they think you are and what they think you're going to do and say. And this leads a lot of line 5s to have the experience that nobody ever sees me for who I am. And this is seen as something that is bad. I hate this. I wish I didn't have the projection field. And I look at human design, there's all kinds of things that are potentially problematic or difficult. And if I see any aspect of my design as being, this is bad, that's not a good thing. So how can we take any aspect of human design that is difficult or problematic and see it as part of my gifts, part of who I am, as opposed to a problem that I wish didn't exist? So here's how I illustrate it, because I like to do this physically to help people understand. So like this is me, and this is a projection field. So for people to be able to see me inside here, they project onto me who I think I am and what they think I'm going to do and say. It's not possible to see me without the projection field. This is part of who I am. So they're projecting onto me who they think I am, and it may have no relationship to who I actually am and what I'm actually going to do and say. And so this leads to that experience of nobody sees me for who I am. Now, it's not necessarily clear to people that it goes the other way. I project onto other people who I think they are and what I think they are going to do and say, which again may have no relationship to who they are and what they, what they're actually going to do and say. It's not possible for me to see Marla as a 1-3 except through the projection field. This is always between me and the world. So for me to see this as being a problem doesn't do me any good. This is part of who I am. Now, I have learned to see the projection field as part of my superpowers. So we were talking about, as universalizers, I help people in the world to get the benefit of whatever it is. I project onto them what I want them to get. It's all through the projection field that it happens. All of the teaching, all of the sharing, all of the benefit, all of the excitement, all of the sharing happens through the projection field. And so, I'm a manifester. I'm initiating people through what I'd say all of the time. And I am conscious before doing something, before saying something, I am going to project onto them and change something over there. I'm going to initiate a belief system or an action. And it's because I have the projection field. I am so fortunate to have the projection field. So to see it as a gift rather than as a problem. And when I do readings for people, I start off creating it that way from the very beginning, because there's so much like bad reputation that follows the projection field around because of this. Nobody knows me for who I am. So I share that with people from the very beginning. It's like, you may hear this about it, but see it as a superpower. So that's how I like talking about the projection field.
So I love that, because as you were talking about it in the first part of your answer, my first thought was, oh, I wonder if it's further emphasized, with you being a manifester, and already, some projection that may be associated with being a manifester. So, I mean, you address that beautifully. And what I also found, what I loved about your example is the jar may be clear, but the glass is a bit distorted. So you can see, but it's not that pristine image, right? It's not exactly what you see is what you get. It's almost one of those funhouse mirrors at an amusement park, right?
Yeah.
Crazy distortions.
It's part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And the projection field does lead to misunderstandings and miscommunications. And so the way through it is communication, to be clear. So this is what I think you're saying. Is that really what you're saying? Or when I ask somebody to do something, so would you, let me know what you think I said and what you're planning to do, so that as much as possible, we're in the same place. Also, to understand that there are some people with whom I may never get to the point of being clear. We may just miss. And so I just know that in some relationships, it's like, okay, projection field. And that's just, how I have to learn to manage it.
Yeah, very well said. In any relationship, or when I talk about relationship, I'm talking about human beings, interrelating on the planet. But certainly if you have that, next level, like relationship, family, spouse, work, colleagues, business, anything of that, friends, anything of that nature, understand the communication is key. But, like you said, even understanding the projection field and how that functions with a line 5 is key, because there are times, I just speak from the perspective of my husband, just because he is so close to me. Sometimes, yes, I notice it. Like, I notice that I'm not seeing him as clearly as I could, just because of maybe just my own momentary bias or something like that. Or sometimes I'm resisting his solutions, and he's universalizing just because it was like, I don't want you to be right until I know I'm not right, and then you could be right. My line 3 is like, I want to test it out first, right? So
there's your 1, 2.
Yeah.
Both the 1 and the 3. Yeah.
And he does have what I believe to be the 1. I certainly see the research on his side too. So it's but yes, it is a dance too. I'm going to say, like, it's a bit of a dance, and it is, I always say when it comes to human design and learning and experimenting with human design, I mean, the best gift you can give yourself is removing all judgment. Removing judgment that you're wrong, or you've got voids or gaps, or you're incomplete, or you're not good enough, or you're not built correctly, or you wish you had this and you didn't wish you had that. And you want to remove all that judgment, because you have the superpowers you have, from a human design and a human perspective, and you're designed perfectly for who you came here to be. And so, with that is to, like you said, to really see the gift of the line 5, and to remove a lot of the judgment that comes with that experience. Because, like you said, I mean, if you walk around going, I hate being a line 5, well, that's not going to be, I mean, that's going to just be an uphill battle, really. And you're going to be missing the ability to see the gifts.
And there are a massive number of people who are line 5s. There are lots of 5 1s and 3 5s.
Yeah. Spicy people. All right. Well, we got 3 of you on the panel here. Awesome. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you so much for that. The visual I thought was perfect. So that was awesome. Sammy, I would love for you to jump in and elaborate on your experience with the projection field, and all of that. I know you have some things you want to share.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with phrasing a question as Sandra, of you saying that, like, you felt like you saw, you still, were part of the, projection field when you're looking at other people. I wonder if I'm curious if you think that differs because yours is in the like more unconscious, where mine's in the conscious. Because for me, like doing more of the research and all that stuff, having that like stability is then how I'm like the 5 kind of like the, you know, in the conscious like aspect. I feel like and I guess being a projector, I feel like I do see people pretty clear for who they are. It's more the opposite. I feel like double projected on. But in reality, I see it as a beautiful gift because it's allowed me to find like the people that like I really cherish and that you know could be the closest thing to seeing me as who I am, because like I being able to see other people's intentions and being able to see if they can really see me has allowed me to probably get away from situations or not be friends with people that probably didn't have my best intention. And I think that at first when you learn that, it's incredibly difficult to deal with that, like to deal with the fact that like being someone who can be so universal about ideas and wanting to share them, that like not everyone's gonna like me or not everyone's gonna see me. But then once you like, I don't know, I think once you realize all the beautiful gifts and aspects that you have when you find people that really, really benefit from your 5 line, that's when it like really clicked for me of like, I literally wouldn't change a thing. I also, one of you guys had mentioned that, you know, instead of looking at a chart like something negative about yourself or like they wish they had this, that's like the one thing that breaks my heart when I hear people say, because like, you know, human design isn't supposed to be a quick fix. And if you see a part of yourself that like, you know, it triggers you in some way, that's maybe something that some of the things that I used to think that I didn't like are now my favorite parts of my chart, you know? And so it's a journey, you know, it's a journey. You might, and like, we're not going to be healed overnight just by looking at our chart. It's about really just sitting with the energy and just, you know, kind of having that serenity to it, I guess, in some ways. So yeah, I definitely have felt it explained a lot of my past, like my past friendships and relationships and things that I never understood why they went wrong. I think a lot of those wounds got healed finally. And then I was able to stand in my power instead of being a people pleaser, because I'm a projector too. So people are just going to dump their, like, not in a bad, but like they will, you know, they're going to just like immediately open up to me. And I think as a 5, I always felt like I could fix the problem. And then if I didn't live up to that, or if I couldn't fix it, or if I said yes to too many things, my reputation would get ruined. And, you know, so I always just say that, you know, be picky and, you know, take your time, like as far as like saying yes to things. And just, it's really taught me to not settle, for sure.
Awesome. And we will delve into conscious side versus unconscious side, definitely in some follow-up questions. So, so thanks for bringing that up, Sammy.
Of course.
Awesome. Christy.
Okay, I'm getting the unmuting thing down. So with me in the projection field, there's a lot of things that I've learned. Several situations, like I can pinpoint in my past growing up when someone saw something in me that was not me at all. You know, like being accused of doing something that I didn't do, or say something I didn't do, you know, that kind of thing, that projection, and having as an emotional authority sit there and go, what? Like totally blindsided by it. And, you know, 2 days later, I know what to say, but, you know, and it's past and where are you? And so the projection field explained a lot of things for me, learning about that, you know, you have to be true to yourself. You have to be yourself, and knowing who you are and really staying true to that is huge for a 5, because when you know who you are and you know, okay, so this feels right. I'm emotional authority. So everything's feel. And it's like, okay, so this feels really right. This is what feels good for me to do. This is how I'm going to respond. It takes away the energy to where I feel attached to the outcome, so that when something does go wrong, it's like, okay, so wait a minute, this wasn't mine. I can feel it feels different for me when it's a projection. It's like, so you're saying you see this. So articulating back things and communicating back, that communication process is huge. Setting expectations right up front and being very transparent, especially with my work. It's like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to cover, you know, being very specific about, you know, these are the plans I have. This is how I have it in my head. Even working with my kids, I have a projector and a generator, both 5-1s. So I'm, you know, learning this and watching them evolve and holding the space for them to understand that, you know, certain things happen and it's because, you know, and you got to just say, you know, because it's someone else's projection of you, and that, are you being true to yourself? Are you being yourself? Or are you changing to, you know, almost that chameleon to change to fit something else? And so I don't even know if I'm answering the question or not. I go off on tangents, just heads up.
Hi, Manjan.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I just, but yeah, so staying really consistent, being who you are, doing things that really resonate with your authority, being able to check in and go, is this mine? And knowing what that feels like, what the differences are, the nuances, will keep you steadfast and centered when everything around you feels way crazy. It'll feel more, you know, connected and concrete. So I found that that's been basically my key, and what I'm teaching my children to do as 5s is to be able to check in, but you can't really know yourself until you know yourself, right? Until you actively mentally practice getting out of your head and down into your body. And I find that a lot of people have a problem getting into their bodies. So my projector is all over the place. So I'm constantly helping her, you know, connect back down. So the communication's huge. Being really clear.
Yeah.
I'm being afraid to be clear, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, it does take practice to see what actually materializes when you do that. And you're getting a lot of sacral grunts from me and on mute, you know, from the back end there. And, you know, I'm glad you brought that up about your children, because I'd like to explore that a little later on, you know, as a parent of a line 5. And, you know, you have the personal experience, you have kids with a line 5, is to really delve into how do you best support them. So we will circle back to that. And because I am also, I'm open-head Manjan. So for some reason we don't mention that later on, Christy, I just am going to hold you to pop a note in the, the chat to be like, hey,